Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jodi Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time.
Hi, welcome to Downsizing Roadmap podcast. Hidden spots. We're going to talk about 7 of them today where stuff piles up and maybe some solutions for clearing them for good.
Yeah, my question is, are you a stuffer? Because maybe I am a stuffer. So there might be some things in these places in my house.
I'm a recovering stuffer, definitely not, but I've had those phases in my life when I definitely, let stuff pile up. I'm recovering.
Yep, I'm Jodi Roscoe.
I'm Heather Fisher.
So let's just talk about the places that we shove things, because I think this happens. For me, it happens often if people are coming or, something's happening and I don't know exactly, I don't have a good spot. I don't have a system, because Heather's all about the systems. I don't have a system for something, and then it just gets shoved in some, particular spot, and then I can't find it, or, whatever happens, or it gets, that area gets really kind of messy. So
I think what I've realized most after trying very deliberately in the last few years through a couple moves to not be that stuffer and to be more intentional is the amount of energy that it takes from you that now I've gotten back, that I know where things are, or I'm looking at much calmer spaces. And so as we talk through this list, they may feel like very small things, but the dramatic change in just your mindset, your energy, not the stress hormones that it's creating by just having clutter in all of these spots can really make a world of difference.
Yeah, I have in my laundry room, I have a desk, and that is my place that everything lands that I'm not sure what to do with. Either it needs to go out of the house to go back to somebody or to be returned, or it's mail, or it's, something that I'm just not sure what to do with. And I think it's really interesting in that it shows me how many delayed decisions that that I'm not making, that I'm just, and if you're holding it in your hands, could you have made a decision about it in the 30 seconds about where it actually goes or what you actually need to be doing with it, versus just shoving it somewhere for a later decision problem, but then that weighs on you. It starts to weigh on you.
Yeah, absolutely. I have 2 returns sitting beside the chair in my office right now, and they're constantly like, oh, I need to do that. Oh, I need to do that. And in full disclosure, I could have done it 2 weeks ago,
right,
and it just would have been done. Neither is that big of a deal.
Right.
But those delays don't go away and hide. They're just in your mind.
Yeah, they take up mental space. Mm-hmm. For sure, they take up mental space.
Yeah.
And now when I go in to do my laundry, I see all this piles of stuff, and then I get stressed out about it,
Yeah,
so, yeah,
absolutely. So let's run through some of these 7 common places that don't necessarily feel like a big deal because maybe they're small or hidden, or the things are changing, but can really make a big difference if we uncover them and clean them out for good.
Yep. Okay. Number 1, the drop zone behind the door. So that could be behind your bedroom door, behind a closet door, in the laundry room or entry, as I was just saying, places where things accumulate because it's the easiest delayed what am I thinking?
You're like hiding the decision from yourself.
Yeah, delayed decision. Yeah. You're like, oh, wait, I'm going to deal with that later, but I can't deal with it now. And so I'm just going to put it in that delayed decision spot that you've created in your house.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that the easiest way to approach all of these areas is to think about what consistently doesn't have a home.
Yes.
That you're putting in these wrong spots. Because you'll find a pattern, and that's different for all of us. Maybe it's a problem with the mail. Maybe it's a problem with all of your family's shoes, or maybe it is coats and things that you're just hanging on the doorknob closest to you when you come in.
Or are you being lazy and it has a place in your house and you just don't want to take it to that place because you're in a rush and you're trying to just, clean up maybe the kitchen area, so you're shoving it somewhere so that it looks, clean somewhere else, but then it isn't.
Yeah, so maybe thinking about what's consistently coming in these wrong zones, either because its actual place is inconvenient to you, and how can you make that better, or it doesn't have a place, and how can you find one? And then, what is that type of clutter that you maybe don't have that spot for?
Yeah, and if it's behind the door, it's not much. It might be, it may be like a bunch of robes from your bathroom, but you only really use the top one, and then you just have those other ones that are under on a hook or something like that. So, you could do a quick 2-minute sweep of behind a door, and anything that, it has a home or you're using can, put it at its home, or, if you're not using it, it's got to go.
Yeah, and I can distinctly remember a bedroom I had earlier when I was younger, and I had just piles of stuff behind the door, and it's like you can't even fully open the door because it gets like stuff there in my childhood room, and all of that. So if you're living with that is just adding those little pings of stress to how your life operates throughout the day by those simple things.
I think too, for me, and I think for most people, the state of your home is actually the state of the inside of your mind, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're feeling overwhelmed and you can't deal with it and it's too much and it's too, like you've got to then you'll see that in your house, in where you're just kind of stuffing stuff because you can't figure out how to, where it goes right now, and you aren't going to take the time to put it away right now or whatever. And so that means maybe the whole stress level in your life needs to come down, and that can come down by having less stuff.
Yeah, and that brings up like chicken and the egg. Does the stress in the rest of your life come down if you have a calm space, or does it become easier to have a calm space if you're feeling more in control in other parts? So
I feel like when you make your space calm, it calms your mind, and so if it isn't calm, you have to work towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the behind the door, if you realize it is something where that makes the most sense as a home for whatever the items are, do you need a hook? Do you need something on the wall behind the door? Do you need a basket? What can you do to have it feel like it's a true home and not clutter in the wrong spot?
Yep. Okay. Number 2, the corners of flat surfaces, like, your kitchen counter, stuff that's shoved in the corner of your kitchen counter, your laundry room counter, your nightstands, like all of your flat surfaces, your coffee table, like what are those, what is that looking like? Or, corners of your room, all of that stuff, like what is that looking like?
Yeah, I would say nightstands are probably a big one, and kitchen counters or islands, that surface of coming in the house.
It just seems like it does seem like it's an easy place to put something in. So if it's all open and blank, you're like, oh, I can just put that there, right? Because we do have a tendency to want to fill up spaces, but living with that blank space gives your mind room to breathe. And so do you have too many things on your kitchen counter, or are those all things that you use every day, or are those things that you could potentially store in a closet or let go of if you're not using them? We've talked about our toasters and putting them away in the cupboard or not, and how often do you make toast, and just really be thoughtful about that. If you make toast once a month, it could live in the cupboard. If you make toast every day because that's what you eat, then it should probably be on the counter. So there's no wrong answers to it. It's just, how are you living your life, and are you actually using those things that you need? Nobody wants to put the coffee maker away every day.
Yeah, no, the coffee maker stays on the counter for sure. But I think that you're right. It's just noticing your own habits. And for us, we don't use the toaster, but maybe once a month. Right. So it lives, in the pantry on a shelf.
Yeah.
We currently have too many cutting boards on the kitchen counter, and we were just talking about that. We ended up with a few as gifts after the holidays, and I'm like, okay, we gotta.
Which ones do we like?
Yeah, we need to rank these and move some of them. But it can. That's that one in, one out. We already had some got added, and we haven't let some go yet. So always making those decisions, if it's just stuff that always lives on your flat surfaces, if it's an ongoing part of your daily life, like you drop the mail there, but it shouldn't go there, or you're dropping your purse and your keys on the closest surface, like back to where's a better home that keeps it feeling organized and in a place that makes sense.
Yeah, is there a hook in the, by the garage where you go to your car or whatever that you can put your purse, on? And so that, number one, you're not searching for it all the time. You know where it is. And then, it isn't landing on the kitchen counter or the dining room table or whatever is your catch-all place that you
Yeah, we have that stat in our downsizing class. What is it, 153 days that people spend searching for things they can't find in their home. Mm-hmm. And so all of these spaces tend to be where they're found. They're just overloaded, so it takes a while to find them.
Right. So if you consistently put it back in the same place over and over and over again, then you aren't looking for it. But that has to become a habit. We have a place where we put keys, and sometimes they don't get back there because they're in my purse or they're whatever. And so I know that's surprising to y'all, but if you continue to do it, then it does become a habit, and you just always look there for it, and you always put them back. It's actually very, very freeing.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference of things you're using daily, like keys, or you're grabbing your purse, your glasses, that need a convenient place. And then there's a level of like fooling ourselves with, this doesn't belong here, even though I'm stretching the purpose. I think, we got the new tags for one of our cars, and the paper with the sticker that goes on the car sat on our drop zone counter for, probably almost the full month ahead of time. And it just needed, walked down the driveway to the car.
Yeah.
And it's like those decisions that you could make faster and just take it off your mind.
Yeah. And if your kitchen counters are really cluttered, take everything off of it. Just like we would always say, if you're going to do a cabinet, take everything out and only put back the things you're going to use. Same thing with the kitchen counter. Take everything off of it. And then be honest with yourself about whether you use the things that you are going to put back daily. Yeah. And, maybe they need to sit in a spot for a little while, and you only are allowed to put them back until you use them. And if they've been there, a week or so.
A different version of the maybe box.
Yeah, like they just need to, be either stored or go away. So.
Yeah, if you haven't used it in 30 days and needed it out of the box, then they don't need stored there.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I think too, especially for these flat surfaces, that that nightly reset or a morning reset before you leave the house, just getting it back to that baseline of cleared off and things put away, is so rejuvenating to wake up to the surface already being cleaned off and ready for the next day, or you're coming back to home at the end of the day and you're not walking into it.
Yeah, that's our pillows and our blankets on our couch. You just want to just fluff that back up and make it feel
the symbol
refreshed.
With my husband or I, whichever one stands up and starts folding the blankets first. It's like, okay, tired, time to go to bed. But just making that a fresh spot to walk into, just if you're doing it daily, takes minutes.
No time at all.
No time. And so to do that for, those common places, your nightstand in the morning or your kitchen counter before you go to bed, bathroom counter, and then taking it a step further, I always feel like when it's clean, wipe down the kitchen and bathroom counters, or dusting some of the other furniture pieces makes me less, it just feels like, oh, I want to keep it this way.
Yeah.
So making sure you're doing that step as well.
Yes. Okay, so clean off those flat surfaces, which is what we tell everybody when they have to go to sell their house. And then once they've done it, they're like, why don't we live like this?
Yeah.
Don't we hear that all the time?
Absolutely.
We do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you'll love it. You will love it. Okay. Number 3, the backs of drawers that you never fully open. And this is the backs of cabinets too, especially the lower cabinets that you can't
really
even see, the really tall tops of them, and the lower ones where you can't see what's in the back there. But drawers you just kind of open and just use the front, like especially in your bathroom, maybe, you just use whatever's in the front of it. the junk drawer, things get smushed to the back that you aren't using. Maybe your desk drawer, same kind of things. So, I think it's back to the 80-20 rule, right? We only use 20% of the things we have, and the 80% are the stuff that's in the back of the drawer.
Right. Because you haven't pulled it out anytime soon. And, we always say that doesn't mean you have to get rid of 80%, but if there's 80% available that you could get rid of, let's look at, maybe another 10 or 20% of just clearing it out.
Yeah.
And that won't affect your life at all,
right,
except to make it feel fresher and freer,
simpler.
And simpler. Mm-hmm.
And it can cost money. I mean, there's a statistic that the average household spends $50 to $70 on stuff, rebuying stuff they can't find, basically. And so if everything is in the same, batteries, I think are like an ideal thing. Like they might be all over the house, and then you can't find some when you need them, and then you go out and you buy some, right? But things like that, if you keep them all in the same place and you know exactly where they are and you keep that, fresh, then you are going to save yourself money.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this piles up in nightstands a lot because you don't need that many things that close, but we shove and stuff lots of stuff there.
Yeah.
Just dresser drawers, if you're back to that 80-20 rule and only wearing 20% of the clothes in your closet.
It's just the top
all
ones.
those T-shirts at the bottom of the pile, or
yeah,
the things shoved in the back of the drawer. The dresser that we have has the deepest drawers I've ever seen, and I'm like, I can't. It doesn't.
Right, when you buy it, you think, look at all this storage, this is great. And then later you're like, no.
Like, I can't even see it without pulling, all the clothes out. So just being aware of what you're actually using so you don't have to stuff that stuff in amongst the stuff you're not.
And I think that's a mindset, too, of a level of needing to have things full, right? So I think you don't have to fill up everything, and that's a hard, like we tend to want to do that. We just squirrel stuff away, right?
Yeah.
And so we just have to realize it's a mindset change that it's okay if you only have a few things in that, drawer. Your toothbrush, some of the things that you use. Like, it doesn't have to be all full of things that you don't use to make it feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We all stock up. Okay, area number 4. I'm a big guilty one on this one. Jodi just rode in my car. And so we're talking about the back seat and the trunk of your car. You just tote things. I mean, for us, we're toting lots of things for events and work stuff, but it lives in there. I have something in my trunk since October that I don't need. We just talked about that, and it's just a decision that I've delayed of taking this in where it belongs and getting it out of my car. But
I think people don't see it very much. Like you're in your car, like you only really realize it when somebody comes to get in your car, and then you're like, oh, wait, there's stuff in your way. You can't sit on the seat, or you can't put your stuff there because you aren't looking at it. You're driving, and then whatever's behind you, you just aren't paying any attention to it. So, it becomes storage for errands that you haven't completed yet. And, a cluttered car, again, it's all emotional about, like, is your life cluttered? Is your, are you too overwhelmed to get things done? And so you have that stuff that needs to be returned, and you put it in your car a month and a half ago, and now you might not even be able to return it because the date is passed. I mean, seriously, like my mom did that all the time. And so she didn't mean to. She was, she had good intentions of putting it in the car, but then it's about systems again, and like making sure that you're just following through with all of the things. If you bought something and you need to return it, just get on it and get on getting it done, right? So this is the same idea of the counter sweep. You could do like a Sunday sweep of your car, or someday, a particular day, or once a week, you can just, everything comes out of the car, and there's going to be trash in there. You had a water bottle that you just aren't using, all of that stuff. That kind of just, but if you just do a weekly sweep of it, that just makes it so much more easy to just take care of it instead of it getting overwhelming.
Yeah, I think too, for me, when there are some things that I want to have in my car, an extra umbrella and, jumper
Emergency kit, maybe,
cables,
yeah.
it's, the snow scraper for where we are and all of that. Finding some way to have a home in your car as well, whether that's one bin with a lid that you can keep things in your trunk, or a place where it is tucked if your car has compartments, makes it just like we've experienced in our home, but it's organized and it's where you expect it to be, and there's not a lot of stuff just floating around and rolling around.
Yeah.
Makes it much better.
Yeah, I like the Sunday sweep. And if you do it on, on a day that you would be able to do errands, then whatever's in there also gets returned on that day, right? So
great advice that I should take.
Okay,
for my returns.
Number 5, the space above eye level. So the top pantry shelf, the top cabinet shelves, the top of the refrigerator, all of the places that are out of reach, and people shove things up there because I don't know where to put this. Let's just put it up somewhere, because they already know it's not something they use all the time.
Yeah.
And then it kind of gets hidden above your eye level. And so your brain knows it's overfilled and up there, but you just, you aren't fully seeing it.
Yeah, and if you're height challenged and you're literally not seeing those tops of things, you do forget that it's there, but it's tucked back in the back of your mind,
right,
somewhere, and all of that. So,
and I mean, if you have to get a step stool to get it, how often are you getting it, and do we actually even need it? I mean,
yeah.
I would actually say you probably could have all of the top shelves of your cabinets empty.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Honestly.
Yeah. Or
especially if you have 42-inch kitchen cabinets, like the tall ones.
Yeah.
Nobody can reach that. Most people can reach that without a stool.
We have those height cabinets, and I can't reach the top 2 shelves. So it's constantly asking, but we don't have anything up there that we need. Maybe holiday stuff.
Right. So, and if you need to use that for storage for things that you like, holiday stuff that you actually are going to use, and that's what your storage is in your home, then that's okay.
Yeah.
If it's, purposeful and intentional. If it's just shoved up there because you have an extra shelf and you want to put something on it, then no.
Yeah. It's checking yourself on how often are you using it, or is it time for it to go?
Yeah. So give yourself an audit, once a quarter or something, to clean out those spaces.
Yeah. And if you are using stuff that's up too high, how can you shift things around so that you're being safe and not being on ladders if you shouldn't be? And
is stuff on the middle shelf that you're not using and, just taking up space, and you could move that down? Yeah.
Yep. So that question, if you didn't know it was up there, do you still need it?
No.
Yes.
No, you don't.
Yes. Area number 6, the basement or the garage, those temporary holding zones.
Yeah.
We talked about this in depth in a podcast episode a few weeks ago. It's a great one if these areas are speaking to you to go do a deeper dive on. But they definitely become those, I don't know what else to do, so I will just put this at the bottom of the basement steps and wait for it to get absorbed into the rest of the
Sucked
pile.
into the black hole. Yeah. I think that my basement is my worst place, that I put things that I think I'm going to need. And, you have those kind of thought processes, and that's where my holiday stuff goes. And, but maybe not organized quite as well as it could be. And so I think the basement is something for me that is a project that I need to audit more often, I think, because that's what happens. It will kind of get to a place, and then I'll get it all cleaned out, kind of like our rooms when we were little.
Yes.
Same. So I kind of still treat the basement like my little kid room that used to get really, 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 really messy until I couldn't stand it, which took a long time, by the way. My parents were way over it before I was. And then would spend the entire day, reorganizing and moving the furniture and cleaning the room and all that stuff. That's kind of how I still treat the basement. So the rest of the house isn't really like that, but the basement still is like that for me.
Yeah, I mean, as careful as I've tried to be in downsizing everything as we've moved, we just sorted what we had put down in the basement into piles, and we piled all of the Christmas boxes in one spot, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like too much.
Yeah.
Even just after downsizing a couple times over a couple moves over the last few years, when you put it all together in those categories, it's still, I know there's stuff we didn't use, our first Christmas here in this house, and I just still didn't, it's still down there. So we all need to audit. And
Yes.
like you said, the more often you're scheduling that audit, the less likely that you're going to end up with just total overwhelm when a move comes up or when it's just physically harder. You'll just have managed it much better.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes sentimental and emotional stuff ends up in the basement because it's not stuff, if you're really being honest with yourself, it's not stuff that you want to look at and use all the time, but you feel guilty about keeping it. And it might not be the basement for you. It might be a storage area. It might, whatever, attic. It might, but those kind of places are where that stuff lands because you don't really want to see it every day because it's not your favorite thing, but you also feel guilty about getting rid of it because of whatever sentimental person in your life or whatever that is. And so I think that the basements are sometimes, or attics or wherever, are sometimes harder to do because you have to spend some emotional time there making actually maybe a little bit harder decisions.
Yeah, I mean, homes are designed with storage for more practical items. And, so where the broom closet is or your clothes closet and the kitchen cabinets. And then there's the whole category of all your sentimental stuff. And every house is different. And what that space is, it's not really designed like, here's the one closet for your Christmas decor, or here's the one closet for your memories. And so you have to make those decisions yourself. And I think the trap that often we fall into, all of us, is just not defining, this is where that's going to live in this house for me. And it becomes these overflow spaces. But those spaces also have purposes like the lawn equipment and the, extra paper towels and all of that. So it becomes just a jumbled, undefined pile that's very hard to go through.
Right. So you can, take that in pieces and declutter, one wall, one shelf, one bin, whatever that is that you need to kind of work your way towards. And so people underestimate how much stuff that they have. And that is so, so true. They underestimate it by like 32%. And when we moved from our house, our basement was something I totally underestimated how much stuff was in there. Yeah. When we went to move, how many boxes I needed or whatever for that stuff. And probably didn't need the boxes. I probably should have let it all go. But I did all the things wrong, y'all. So we're telling you, do the things. But I did get rid of a lot of stuff. But then I ran out of time when I got to the basement and did not realize how much stuff was down in the basement.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, if you're listening and you're feeling like, well, I'm not ready to downsize, please just hear our advice that there's never too early of a time to get started and start working through so you don't end up against that time clock when an opportunity comes up for, a great move.
Yeah, yep. Okay, number 7 is the digital paper whatever zone. There's mail, there's digital stuff. You have a desk corner, you have whatever, an entry ledge, like wherever that stuff all lands.
Yeah.
All that stuff that's coming into the house and you aren't sure what to do with it. You don't want to deal with it right that minute. You're not going to actually bring the mail in and pay the bill the minute, that it comes in, if that's what you're doing or whatever. You're not sure where to put it.
Yeah, I think digital is a struggle because it's just endless amount of storage per se until they upcharge you for that cloud storage.
All the emails people send you that you aren't even asking for and all the things,
Yeah, but it can just multiply without really realizing it because it's not stacking up in paper form. And then actual paper, we see so many clients that just have file cabinet after file cabinet, and boxes and piles. And when it's not managed over time, it's very overwhelming.
I think that paper is probably one of the most stressful things that people deal with, especially if there's a lot of medical things, like you said. But a lot of paperwork coming into the house, and our brains, if you don't have a system, your brain doesn't know what to do with it next. And that actually causes a lot of anxiety, because when we don't know the path, we have anxiety. Knowing answers helps us handle things, which is why systems make us so much more peaceful, because we know what the plan is. We know what to do next. And so if you don't have a system for your paperwork and it's just piling up, and important things and not important things are all going together in a pile, anxiety is running, rampant in your brain, whether you actually know it or not. That is happening.
Yeah, I think it is that category that has such a spectrum of non-importance to very important, and that's what trips us up. If you got rid of every item of clothing in your closet, it still wouldn't be, the end of the world, because you could go get a few more pairs of pants and shirts and be just fine. Mm-hmm. But paperwork could have very important documents that you don't want to just quickly make a decision. But if you haven't made small audits over time, it can be so overwhelming.
Yeah, and in an easy system, you can have some little bins that are action, something that needs to be acted on, whether that's, you're going to have to pay a bill, or you're going to, a party or whatever. There's action things. There's filing things, but I would be careful on how much you file, because most of the time we don't need to keep things forever. And if we put it in a file, we're almost never going to look at it again. So careful on the filing, or shred, and you can either have a bin that you shred and you take it, to whatever the city offers shred, or you take it to one of the box stores to, shred it, or you can buy a little personal shredder, which is really not very expensive, and just, shred your things as you go. But even just that much simplicity of, this is something that I need to act on, this is something that I need to keep, and this is something that I need to get rid of, even that much will make a huge difference in the anxiety.
Yeah, and then to take it one more level is to plan, when are you taking action on the take action pile?
Exactly.
Is that a once a week, you set aside an hour to go through that? Is it act on it immediately so it never makes it to the pile? Decide what works best for the rhythm of your life, but don't just have an action pile that weighs on you with no plan to take action.
Yep. You got a time block too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the real reason these spots build up, we talked about this earlier, it's often just a reflection of the phase of life you're in, your current energy levels, your current, health situation, so many factors, but it's a reflection usually of where you're at in life at that moment.
And the habits that you've created, or the systems that you've created or not created for yourself, right? And so you can change, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you can start changing that feeling of overwhelm by just slowly putting a system around things that are irritating you. So if you have a drop zone and you realize that there's something in there that's always bothering you, or you're not sure where that goes, that's the thing you need to create the system around first. And that system could be, I bring in the mail, I throw away everything that's junk mail before I even get inside, I throw it in the outside trash, so I'm only bringing in the things that are important. Whatever that is, you can just start to create a system around it that will automatically start to help with your overwhelm, back to the chicken and the egg, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, if you're feeling overwhelmed, dealing with the things will start to help you feel better.
Yeah, give yourself grace and no guilt over wherever your starting point is, but just layering in small habits on all of these areas can really make big difference, and you'll see progress quickly on just how you feel in your space.
Yeah, don't feel guilty about it. Just realize, I need to make a habit around that, or I need to figure out what my timing is to go through that weekly or monthly or quarterly or, daily, depending on what it is. And just know that once you start doing that, it will actually continue to feel peaceful all the time. It won't have to like build up and give you stress, and then you have to take a lot of time to handle it and then build up again. And, that is not a great cycle. So,
yeah, there's a lot of good emotional payoff of the habits becoming just part of your rhythm. And, if you have to do a project to get to that point, we'll get you through that. But then just making it continual can just change the pace of your life and the amount of stress that you're carrying with you.
Yep. All right. You have 7 spots to go check out and see what you can do with them. So that can be, 1 a day, 1 a week, 1 a month.
Yeah. Let us know which of these spots you guys find the hardest. And if there's any resources that we can share with you, please go to our website, downsizingroadmap.com. Be sure to register for our free guide. We'll help with a lot of these things we talk about each week. That's at downsizingroadmap.com/guide. And if you're, at that stage where downsizing is in your world in the next year or two, please reach out, downsizingroadmap.com/help, and we'll connect you with our network of local resources.
Yep.
All right.
We'll talk to you next time.
Yep. Thanks.
Happy sorting.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.